Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. I'm Tash, and if you're a regular viewer, thanks for coming back. And if you're new here, this is a weekly podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing, and if I've done any other crafting, I'll mention that at the end as well. Right, so I normally start with my finished objects, but I don't have any this week. And I usually do my finished objects from the vault, or my friends from the vault, at a later part of the video, but I thought I might do it first today because I happen to be wearing them. So the thing that you can see in front of you first is this yoked sweater. It's based off Paper Dolls, which is designed by Kate Davies. And in that design, there's like a whole bunch of like cut out paper dolls around the yoke. And I have actually made that once before with that design. But I saw someone made a version that sort of had this sort of geometric shapes on it, and I really liked it. So I did a little, chart version of it. And if I can find it, I got my colouring pencils out and sort of created this design. And I'll put a picture up there if I can find it. Anyway, so the yoke itself is, the design is something that I added or changed, but the body of the sweater, like the rest of the sweater, is the design Paper Dolls by Kate Davies. So it's a bottom-up sweater. I used Madelinetosh Tosh Merino Light in the colourway Silver Fox, and this yarn here, this sort of bluish aqua colour, is actually, I think it's called Kindred Yarn Designs. I don't think she designs or dyes yarn anymore, but it is a single ply, 4-ply yarn, very similar to Tosh Merino Light. And then this sort of, purpley colour is Venetian. I didn't use very much of that at all. So it's a bottom-up sweater. It's got corrugated ribbing, and I think that's an I-cord edging as well, actually. Yes, an I-cord edging. So, and then you knit up, and then you do the sleeves, and then you join all in the round. And yeah, I'm really happy with, if there's any other important details, I'm a little bit not as organised as usual this week. If there's any other important details, I'll pop them down below. But I made this in 2018, and I think most of this sweater I made when I was on a trip to Vietnam and Cambodia with the school that I teach at. We used to, and it's actually just starting back now again, prior to COVID, the Year 10 students would go overseas. They didn't have to be overseas. They would do like a service sort of work thing. So they might go to Fiji and, build slabs for water towers or teach kids to read or various things. Anyway, so the trip that I went on in 2018 was to Vietnam and Cambodia. And this was because there was a lot of time on the plane and on the bus. And so I did a lot of all of this stockinette body when I was there. So that's, and I don't wear this a huge amount, but I'm starting to more now because I made it quite cropped, so I have to have something that's reasonably high-waisted to be able to wear it. So that's my first, because I'm doing Friends from the Vault. My second one is actually the other thing that I'm wearing, which I was showing off last week in my Hidden Whips basket. What I might do is, when a little bit later, I'll take it off and show it a bit closer to the camera because it's black. But it's the Carnaby skirt by Nikol Lohr, and I used Madelinetosh Merino Aran, and it weighs, let me see, how much did I use? I used 500 meters, so it doesn't actually use a lot of yarn. So it's a fairly heavyweight yarn. I don't even know if it's still available, but for 50 grams, you only got 78 meters. So that's an Aran weight yarn, and I knit it on 4mm needles, so very dense fabric. And it did actually hurt my hands a bit, even though this was the first, I've made more than one of these. This is the first version that I made of this, and I really enjoyed, I was really excited about doing it, but I had to be a bit careful and spread it out amongst other projects because it was actually knitting that dense of fabric, similar to socks. It was actually quite hard on my hands. So that was, what else was I going to say about it? I think, I made it in 2012, so it's 11 years old. It is starting to peel a little, and the way it's knit, actually, I will show you my other version because I brought my second one, and that might be easier to show and talk about. So it's a side-to-side skirt, so it's called the Carnaby skirt. So you knit it, you pretty much decide, I guess, on the cast on is the length of the skirt. And sorry, I'm trying to undo all these buttons now. So I made this really orange, very orange one in Madelinetosh vintage in the colorway Citrus, and which is more like a heavy worsted rather than an Aran weight yarn. Anyway, so you cast on, actually I did a bit of an amendment with this one. You cast on from here to here, and then you do this sort of 2x2 offset rib, and then you create these panels with short rows. And so you knit all along this way, and then that way you get to sort of try it on as you go until you get to the other end. And so I've got buttonholes, one row buttonholes here, which if people are interested, I can do a little tutorial on that. I didn't do a tutorial last week, so I've had a really busy week, but I will get back into the rhythm of doing my tutorials. So I can do a tutorial on the 1 row buttonhole that I use. If you like, there's quite a lot of steps in it, and it can seem a little bit odd when you're doing it, so like it might actually be one worth doing a video on. And yeah, so you knit all the way to the other end and then bind off, and then now this is actually a little bit different. You actually crochet along the edge here, and it stabilizes it, and it also pulls it in quite a bit. So I was making this one and I put it up against this black one that I was wearing, and it looked about the same. And so I bound off, but then once I did the crochet chain, it pulled it in quite a bit, and then it turned out quite small. So I had to unpick and go a bit further and do a couple more of these wedges, and then bind off, and then do the crochet. But what I found was that it was a bit too short for me. I found it a bit short, even though I wear these with tights, like I'm wearing just like opaque tights in winter. It was too short. It's just a bit too short. So instead of where I'd crocheted, I unpicked the crochet, and you can see that I did like a waistband, I guess you'd call it. So this one doesn't have a waistband because I was happy with the length of it. But this one, to add a bit of length, all I did was, so even though technically you sort of decide on your length from the beginning, because this one was a bit short, I just made it work by picking up all of those stitches. Instead of doing a crochet band, picking up the stitches, knitting a waistband, and then binding off. So and I guess the bind off is a bit tighter than, it's not as tight as a crochet chain across, but it's certainly better than nothing, like, you know, when, because you're working from side to side, there was nothing at all on this end, whereas this time I picked up stitches and actually had a bound off. So that's, and then I've got these really pretty buttons. I can't remember, it's so long ago, because I made this one also 12 years ago. Pretty much I finished this one and started another one, because I really enjoyed it, and I do wear them. This one I don't wear as much, I guess it's so bright, but I thought, because I really love this color, but it's not great against my face, that's why I decided to make a skirt out of it, because I thought, well, I like the color, but if I wear black against, like I wear it with a black top, and then the pop of color is not right up against my face. Anyway, so that's my friends from the vault. I'm trying to think what else about that. Oh yeah, also I found it was, the bind off wasn't as tight as a crochet chain. So what I ended up doing was I actually ended up putting like a little popper on here, just to sort of keep it even more sort of a little bit more secure. But I reckon I could probably, like if you look at that, maybe that's why I'm not wearing it that much. That's just got a bit too much stretch in it. So it would be, maybe if I can find any of this yarn, if I still have any lying around somewhere. I usually have a little bit of leftovers of everything, just in case, to do a bit of like sweater or whatever, skirt surgery. Like if, you know, I tear a hole or something, or a moth gets to it or whatever. So I probably do have like maybe a tiny little ball of this somewhere, whether it's enough to crochet along and tighten that up a little bit. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, it is winter still here, and I actually wore this to work today because I've been teaching this morning. I thought I may as well start my episode with this, and then I'll get changed so that I can try on some of my my works in progress. I think that's it for now. I'll get changed and do my whips. Right, so I've changed now. I thought I'll just quickly show you the top of this black skirt. If you can see it well enough, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but you can see hopefully there. Oh yeah, that's not too bad. There is no actual waistband. All there is just the crochet chain on the top. But if I had felt it was a bit too short, I could have unpicked that, done a waistband like I did with the orange one, and then probably should have done a crochet chain on the top. So I think I might actually come back to that orange one and see if I can find yarn and do sorry, my throat's gone a little funny, just to cinch it in a little, because I'm finding it's dropping down on my body when I'm wearing it. So I wore this one today and it was totally fine. So I think that crochet chain actually really does make a big difference. You can see it's just sort of starting to pill a bit, and it gets fluff and things on it from other areas. But yeah, I really like the design, and I think my initial, so that's the button, oh they're the buttons, so I sewed that extra button on and wore it. I didn't sew it on that day, of course. I sewed it in yesterday, or maybe I think I even sewed it, no, this morning, yesterday I think. Anyway, I sewed that extra one on, and I didn't because the little shanks are quite small. I actually just had to use regular thread. Normally I take the yarn and split the plies until I've only got 1 or 2 plies, and then I use the thin tapestry needle, but these the shanks were really small, so I ended up just using just normal sewing thread. Yeah, so I really like this one, and I actually think I had thought when I finished this one, I had thought that maybe I would use a tweed yarn. I thought it would be, lots of fluff, I thought it would be really suit, it would kind of look a bit like, you know, well, not quite like those Chanel skirts, but you know the Chanel skirts that look a bit sort of tweedy and very expensive. Anyway, I just thought it would really suit a tweed yarn, but I don't actually have much tweed yarn in stash, and obviously I got distracted and started, didn't come back to it and make another one. Anyway, so that's the Carnaby skirt. Now I'll get on to my works in progress. And this is the Anity by Sara Stark, and I used Jouret and Classer in the colourway, what is it, Vintage Rose, Bellevue Park 5-ply in the colourway Vintage Rose. And I'm getting kind of more accepting of this little bit of extra fabric here. It's not too bad. You know, can kind of, you know, sometimes those tops that have like a bit of a blousey sleeve, I suppose I can kind of accept it a little bit like that. And I haven't been to Spotlight to investigate little shoulder pads, but I might do that because there is just that little bit of gathering there. And I also haven't, so that's the one that's bound off normally. This is the one that I bound off using the stretchy bind off. You can see I haven't fixed that yet, and I haven't changed the neck to a normal bind off, but I think I will. So this was 3mm needles for the neckline, 3.75mm for the body. But interestingly, on the pickup, she gets you to pick up these stitches with a 2mm needle and then knit straight off onto a 3mm needle. So I'm not really sure what that does. I guess it just brings it in a little bit, cinches it in a bit. But I think I will try rebinding that off and see if I like that a little bit better. So I've worked a little bit further down the body, but you can see I've still got quite a bit to go. I only bought 2 balls. It's so funny, I've still got the swatch attached. So I did the swatch from the outside of the ball, and now I'm knitting on the inside of the ball. But for some reason, I just don't want to cut the yarn. I don't think I'm going to use all this second ball. I don't know what it is about us knitters and cutting yarn. We just really don't want to cut it. Anyway, yes, I'm sure I will eventually, because once I've sort of used it, or maybe I won't, like if there's enough I might use it for something else. But I think I'll use most of that because there's still, you can tell there's still quite a bit of a way down the body for this top. But yeah, I'm happy, like I'm definitely gonna wear it. I love the color, and I think I will make it sort of cropped-ish, not super cropped, but like to wear with higher waisted jeans. And I am starting to, you know, I've made a lot of tops that are much longer in the body, but as I'm starting to get more higher waisted skirts and jeans and things, you know, as soon as I buy these things though and start to wear them, I'm sure the trend will change and it'll be low-waisted again. But anyway, so I haven't got rid of my low-waisted stuff. because, you know, it all comes around. So this is whip number 1. I don't actually have any new whips, so I didn't cast on anything new this week. Right, so let me look at whip number 2. This is the Pie Camisole by Nabita Jouret, and I'm using Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino. And this is on very small gauge knitting. Let me see if I can figure this out. I'm not trying this one on because there's not much point. It's a little bit too awkward to try on, but I will show you how I'm knitting it. So I knitted the front panel. Which one's the front? I think that's the front. I knitted the front panel down to here. Cut the yarn, knitted the back panel, which is the same length, although this designer still hasn't got back to me on that yet because the rows didn't match up. The back was going to end up having 4 rows less than the front, which is weird because you would think if there was going to be any difference, it'd be a bit more on the back. Anyway, I just knit the extra 4 rows so that they're the same length, and then eventually there's going to be, so now I'm knitting down the body. I've got 3 balls and that's all I've got left of the first ball. Although what I did was when I cut the front one, when I cut the yarn, I started a new ball for the back because I knew that I would knit that right to the end. So I thought I may as well use a brand new ball. So I've got a ball and one intact ball and most of a ball as well. What you do after you finish down the body is you pick up stitches along the sides, right? So let's say that's what it's meant to be like here, front and back. And then you pick up stitches along the side like that and do 2 inches of ribbing on both sides, and then you'll do another 2 inches of ribbing around the neck. So there's still, even though it looks so tiny, there's still quite a bit on the side and on the top to go. So that's probably had, because I think I'd only done mostly just the front and only just started the back. So, and given that's fine gauge, I've been knitting on that while watching the Matildas in the World Cup soccer, which is a bit sad that they got knocked out by England last night. But anyway, so I've been sort of furiously knitting on that. That's on 2.5mm needles, and my gauge is a little bit smaller. I'm getting 35, quite a bit smaller actually. I'm getting 35 stitches over 4 inches instead of 31. So that's going to be about 10% smaller. So as a result, instead of making the double extra small, I'm just making the extra small. And when I do the math on it, it should come out to 27.5 inches chest, which is quite a lot of negative ease, but I think these kinds of tops sort of need it. And people have actually mentioned that it's come out, interestingly enough, has come out a bit big. So we'll see how we go, but I think it will be fine. She says, fingers crossed. Right, so that's the Pie Camisole. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to finish this ball, then I'm going to, and then just put it on like a large circular needle or a barb. Maybe not, I'm going to struggle with barb cords on that. I'll probably just put it on waste yarn actually, so that I can easily try it on. And then I'll do the ribbing, so that from then on I can work out, am I happy with the fit? Am I going to get it to the right length? All of that. So I'm not sure how much more I'll get done on that this week, but it's definitely chugging along. This has had my most attention this week. It's not a huge knitting week for me. That's whip number 2. Whip number 3 is the Cumulus tee. This actually had got a bit of attention because I'm actually trying to see if I can finish this. It's not finished yet, but it's not far off. I might even get to finish it this week. Yeah, I should do actually. Let me take this off and I'll try it on. So I've done all the neck treatment and I've done the sleeves. I'm knitting it on the suggested needles, which is 3mm needles. And what else? I did pick up less stitches around the neck. It was, when I was making it initially, it was really just too oversized. It's still kind of oversized, but I think it's manageable now. You know, it's just not too bad. The sleeves are less oversized. I've got 4 less stitches on the sleeves. How did I do that? I think I just didn't, oh, that's right. I cast on less stitches under the arms instead of 10 under the arms because I knew I wanted the body to be a bit smaller and the sleeves are also a bit smaller too. I cast on 6 instead of 10. So I've got 4 less stitches on the sleeves, but I did exactly the number of rows in the pattern and then an I-cord bind off. I did pick up less stitches along the neckline, which has pulled it up a bit, which is good, and the blocking has sorted out the puckering. So now I'll just stand up. This is all I've got left of the third ball, and that's kind of just enough with a bit of wiggle room for a bind off. So, the other thing I did was I did not do any less. The pattern gets you to knit 3 together a few times on the sleeves for the bind off to bring that in a bit, but I actually knew I didn't really want that or need it. And from what I understand, most people didn't do it on the bottom either, but I'm not sure, because I reckon I'll probably wear this. I don't know, do you reckon I need it any longer? Like I'm probably gonna tuck it in. The I-cord gives it a little bit more. And if I'm gonna tuck it in, I'm gonna wear it, the skirt that I'm planning on wearing it with is pretty high-waisted, but it's sort of only just enough. Let me just put it in. What do you reckon? Like I can't blouse it at all, right? I was just trying to see if I could get it out of three skeins, but why? Like I've got a 4 skein. What's the point? If it needs it, sorry, I'm gonna impale myself with a knitting needle. Yeah, what do you reckon? I won't bind this off tonight. I've got plenty of other things to knit. I'll wait, and I'll wait a few days and see if people comment, if you think maybe I should. So these are pretty high-waisted jeans. That's my belly button right there. So you can see it doesn't much cover, and I don't plan on wearing a tank. I mean, I could, but I wasn't planning on wearing a tank underneath, but it only just covers it. Maybe I need to knit a few more rows. I mean, you don't want heaps tucked into your pants, right? You don't want it down here, but maybe more like here. See how that's only just popping up? Yeah, I maybe do need a few, maybe another inch. Yeah, so I don't know if you can tell. These are my $8 jeans from the thrift shop. Very happy with those. $8 Aussie, which is about $5 US. Anyway, sorry, all tangled. Yeah, so what do you reckon? Should I just, like, I can't do anything with the third ball. Like, it's not like I'm gonna sell it, or, so if I have, if I go, and use a quarter of it or a tenth of it even, what does it matter? I'll have leftovers. Doesn't matter if it's a bit less than a whole ball. Right, so I'm just gonna keep this on because this will keep me warm for the rest of the podcast. So I'm using a 3mm needle, 2.5mm needles for the, which is all just pattern recommended. Sorry, and I'm just lost my show notes because my computer went off talking too much. What was the other thing? Brain. Knitting for Olive, pure silk in Ballerina, I think is the colorway. And while I'm talking about that, so the 2 projects that I have just talked about then, and I've forgotten who told me, so I'm going to put it in the down bar. Somebody told me that there's a yarn store, and I can't remember I think it's called the Yarn Box or something like that in Queensland that sells. I'll put all the details below, but if you happen to be in Australia and you're looking for knitting, a local supplier of knitting for Olive, cotton merino or pure silk, this yarn store has it. So I'll put the name, and all you need to do is Google them, and they're in Queensland, somewhere in Brisbane, Banyu or something, like on the north side of Brisbane. Because I know Sunspun is carrying some of the Knitting for Olive yarn, but not these 2 bases. So yes, and I really am enjoying the cotton merino. It's nice to knit with, it's nice and soft. Yeah, it's really, really lovely. So I can definitely recommend that one. Not loving this one as much. Like, I like how it's nice, but I'm really enjoying this one. This one's okay. Yeah, it feels nice on though, very nice on. Okay, so this is whip number 3. Whip number 4 is Exploration Station by Stephen West, and I finished the last wedge. So in section 1, so I finished section 1, and I'm using Tosh Merino Light in the colorway. The dark color is Graphite, Neon Peach, Antler, and then this is Swish yarns in this sort of apricot-y colorway. So I'm about to start the brioche section, and I'll definitely need to do a little bit of a reminder on brioche. And the brioche is going to be these two colors, the reindeer, Stephen used reindeer, Madelinetosh reindeer, which is a similar color to this one. So it's using this color and the neon peach. So yeah, I'll just have to like brush up my brioche skills a little bit and get going on that. And that's definitely, for me, brioche is, once I get into the rhythm of it, I can do it without paying attention, but I'll need to like spend a bit of time to sort of set myself up and remind myself. Yep, so that's Exploration Station by Stephen West. And my second to last is the Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague. I don't think I've knit a single stitch on this. It's 3.25 millimeter needles, I got up to 136 stitches, and it's Hedgehog fibers, skinny singles, in an exclusive colorway to Skein Sisters from a few years ago. I don't think they're even carrying this yarn anymore, actually. And my last project, which also did not get any attention, I think pretty much everything went into this and the pie camisole, is the fingerless mitts for my daughter out of Rowan Kidsilk Haze in the colorway Wicked, which is just a black, and Myak yarns Baby Lace in another black colorway, and held together. And I haven't made any more progress. I've still got, I think, 10 more rows of stockinette and 8 rows of ribbing, and I have to finish the thumb as well. So I'm not sure when. Soon, hopefully. Oh, look, it's August the 17th. I think winter will probably be gone by the time I finish these. But you know what? There's always another winter. So, and Mia does want them. She'll, I think she will still wear them. She still gets up pretty early in the morning. So I'm promising myself I'll try and finish these. It's not a promise if you say try, is it? Anyway, I will do my best to try and finish at least one mitt and immediately cast on the second one this week. I'm just, the tight gauge, black yarn, just not enjoying it that much, but I will definitely get it finished. Not definitely, what am I saying? I hope to get it finished this week. We'll see how we go. Right, so that's all my works in progress. What's next? Purchases. Okay, this is where I'm a little bit, I just made a purchase this morning. Actually, I will talk about it. I just made a purchase this morning because I've got my in-laws coming out. Even though I bought all that yarn from Bendigo, my in-laws are coming out from the US in about 3 weeks, and I've been wanting to make I think the half and half wrap, which is just ginormous. So I think I want to make it, I'm not sure, but yeah, I do, I would like to. And so I bought some yarn from Pearl Soho. I bought the linen quill, and I'd never bought from Pearl Soho before, but people seem to like this yarn. So I got 3 skeins of like an icy icy-ish blue and poppy, I think red poppy. There's a sweater by Andrea Mowry. It was that colour combination that kind of inspired me to pick these two together. And because when you wear it, you can sort of, there's mostly one colour, but you can see the other one peeking a little bit. I thought, well, so I haven't bought the pattern yet, but I will. And, oh, actually, I think the pattern might be free on their website. Oh, I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. But anyway, so I bought 3 skeins of each. And then there was another pattern. I'm going to pause and look it up. Right, so the other yarn that I bought was called Sweetgrass, and it's an alpaca silk blend, and I bought it for the Soho top by Kindred. And it just looked like it looked like a nice simple pattern. You hold the yarn double, and when I looked up the versions of it, I really liked the ones that were knit in the suggested yarn, which is the Pearl Soho Sweetgrass. So I think I got the colorway, I don't know, I'll put it in the down bar. But it looked like kind of a nice sort of, mid-brownish kind of, no, not mid-brown, like a tan. anyway, it looked really nice. So I thought, well, I'll take the opportunity to try their yarn. Anyway, so because I'd never bought from them before, I, signed up and then purchased it. And then I went to my inbox and said, oh, for your first purchase, you get 20% off. And I was like, use this code. So I was like, rats. But then I thought, you know what? Why don't I just ask? I can ask them. Look, would you be able to, retrospectively apply a 20% discount and have it back on my credit card? And I don't know, within 15 minutes they replied and said, sure, no problem. So you know what? If you don't ask, you don't get. Now, I would have understood if they said, no, sorry, that's, whatever our process. But yeah, I'll definitely be shopping with them again. That was, I just thought, really lovely customer service to honor that, even though they didn't have to. So yeah, so that is a purchase that I won't get for a while. I'll obviously show when they arrive. But yeah, that's and I'm also going to, I haven't bought it yet, but I am going to buy some of the Sanders Garn Lena and Tin Lena, because there's anyway. I guess I am up to that was my purchases. That's the only purchase that I made this week. I don't think I bought any other patterns or anything. But I did buy that yarn. So I'm up to plans now. Let me get to my plans. So clearly when that arrives, I'm going to make the half and half top. I just bought the yarn for it, and I'm going to make the Soho top by Cadre. The plans list is just getting, eventually something's going to have to fall off it, and I'll choose not to make it. But Camisole number 4, but I won't, and I'll use that raspberry pink Knitting for Olive pure silk, so the same yarn as this one here, but I won't start that until I've finished this. I don't want 2 projects with the pure silk because it is a bit harder on my hands. I still plan on making the pink velvet. Where is that? So I am going to make the pink velvet by Andrea Mowry in the grey lamb's wool Bichet bush and the Ching fibre brushed, I don't know, melted suri. So that is still on the plans list. I still plan to make, the Kutar top by Sari Nordland. I would like to buy the Tin Lena 4, and I don't know what colour yet. Oh, there was this pretty pink colour. I'll put it up. That's what I think, the colour that I think I'm going to buy for the Kutar top. I still want to make a, where is it? Sorry, I am just not as organised today. This is the Willow, Western Sky Knits Willow pink colour. I've got this in another whole ball. Oh, there it is, over there. To make another mini mock neck tank. I still want to make, I think I'm going to take Alpine Bloom off the plans list because I don't have the spin cycle. Oh, I could buy that from the US. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, or a little bit overwhelmed. I don't have any of the yarn for the Alpine Bloom. Even though I want to make it, I don't have any of the yarn. I have so much yarn for stuff that I want to make. So yeah, I think I'll just put Alpine Bloom to the side for a minute. Yeah, I think that's probably it for plans right now, and that's a fair bit. Right. What else? I'll do my hidden whips basket, and then I'll do the knit along. So my hidden whips basket, I finished the black skirt where I took that button and I sewed it back on. So if you're new here, I've got this big basket of whips that I need to go through and decide what I'm going to do with. Am I going to finish it, or am I going to frog it? So this one, I thought I'll pull this one out because this is actually really embarrassing. I guess all these things are quite embarrassing as to how long they've been left. I'm just going to actually have a quick look as to how long this has been sitting in a bag for. It's years. It's definitely years. It is another Carnaby skirt. It's my 3rd version, and I used Lorna's Laces green line worsted. I had 3 skeins of it, and I started this in 2017. So what's that? 6 years. 6 years, September 2017. This has been sitting because I think I knit most of it, but you'll probably see what the problem is. So I knit that way. I knit almost all of it. I think I've even just done the crochet edging, but I don't know if you can probably see there. Can you see that shift in color? Like, it's pretty dramatic. I don't know if you can tell, but it's, for me, this is like a light pink and this is almost a red. And it's actually even called bold red. This is not red, this is very pink. But this is a much darker pink. You can see where it changes color there. Anyway, so I thought, what am I going to do? I've really not even noticed this until, or I've just been in denial or ignoring it while I knit this last skein, or first skein. So I planned to dye it and to over dye it. And I bought the dye. It says it will dye 250 grams of fabric. This is 300 grams, so that should be fine. I'm also not dyeing it from white. So that's the pink color, flamingo pink. And what I'm hoping is that it will at least even out that change. Yeah, you can see it a bit better there. That's just, it's really not wearable. Anyway, so I think this is worth giving it a go. The only other thing that I could, so it says that it will dye cotton and silk and cotton, linen, but it says if it's wool or silk or a blend, then it won't dye it quite as dark. So anyway, that looks, actually that's probably not that. That's a bit of a problem. Am I crazy? Maybe it's, I just kind of want it, whatever color it ends up being, I want it to be more one color, not two-tone, like part way around the skirt. So what do you reckon? The only other thing that I could do is to rip it out, and clearly these two skeins are very similar and this one skein is very different. So I would have to use it to do like a 2-skein project and a 1-skein project, which would be like a scarf and a hat or something like that. I just don't do a lot of, I mean, obviously I do a lot of Musselburghs, but I don't do a lot of just regular beanies or whatever. Anyway, I do need to think of, I do need to figure out what to do. I don't want this to go back in the basket. So what do you reckon? Should I dye it with this dye on? Should I get a different color? Should I go red? I mean, obviously you can always do black, but that's crazy. I've already got a black one. So if I didn't have a black one, that's probably what I would do. I know Wool Needle's Hands, she did this really interesting over dyeing thing, but I think she just over dyed the yarn, not a finished object. And I have over dyed a finished object before, but only black. So anyway, what do you reckon? Should I frog it? Should I give the dyeing a go? And then if that doesn't work, frog it? Yes, but I don't want it to go back in the bag. So in the basket. Yep, so that's my my third Carnaby skirt, and I reckon I would wear that. Like, I think that with a black top would look quite pretty. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Right, the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the knit along. So I'm running a very informal knit along. It's nearly finished. It'll finish on the 1st of September. If you can just post on Instagram with the hashtag mostly knitting YouTube Cal, anything that you're making, really anything at all, doesn't even have to be finished. I just love to see what you're making. So Alex is making a Simple Stripes DK version, and it just looks so pretty. And I think she mentioned in her post that she could see me making one with lots of pinks, and I could totally see myself doing that. I'd love to. It looks like a really great sweater. I think it was Tara is making a Tolster tee. Now, I can't remember who it was, but I'll put it down below. Somebody mentioned that, you know how I couldn't find, Beck had put the hashtag of what she was making, but it didn't pop up when I was doing a search. And somebody mentioned that it seems to happen that perhaps if you go from the photo and then share it on Instagram and then do all of your hashtags, the hashtags don't seem to work on a search. But if you go to Instagram, add the photo, then do all the hashtags, then it works. So I don't know if that's, and she was saying she's not sure if that's the case or not, but from her experience, this is what's happened. And I'm sorry I'm blanking on your handle, sometimes when I read the comments and they come to me and then I don't write down who it was, so, but I will put it down below. So thank you very much for that comment. So if you found that people aren't finding what you've, or they're not picking up on your hashtags, perhaps start with being in Instagram, share the photo on Instagram, and then do all of the, like the hashtags, rather than starting from your photos to then go. And who knows, maybe it's a device thing, maybe it's an Android versus iPhone issue, I don't know. Anyway, but it's worth a try. If I haven't mentioned your thing, maybe try that. Yes, anyway, so that's the knit along, and that finishes on the 1st of September, which is only 2 weeks away. Right, so that's it for my knitting. I haven't done any other craft, but I might actually do crochet if I find that orange yarn and do a crochet along the edge of that skirt, that Carnaby skirt. Right, so that's kind of it for the knitting and crafting content. Thanks so much for watching. This isn't my best episode, I have to say. I'm just a little bit scatty because it's been such a big week, and I'm picking up my son I've got to leave in 6 minutes, so I'll have to do a very condensed personal stuff. So yes, I normally don't try to rush this, but yeah, I really wanted to get one out and get it edited and put it up, like to try to keep to that schedule, particularly because I missed the tutorial this week. Right, so personal stuff. It's been a hugely busy week. My husband and Zach played their grand final on Saturday, and unfortunately they lost. They fought hard. It was something like 21-13. So, and it sort of, they were in front and the other team was in front. It was exciting. And my friend Amy came down and watched it with me, and we had coffee and I got pastries, she got coffee for us. And it was so lovely because she's not super into baseball, but she was really interested while she was there and wanting to know, and just like to hang with me while they played and while we watched. It was really lovely. And yeah, so that was lovely on Saturday morning. I had to leave before they finished because it was going on, like it was 7 innings, and because I was teaching at the yarn store, so I had to leave, went and taught a class there. That was Knit Your First Beanie, I really enjoy that class, so that was lovely. And then Sunday I spent the whole day writing an exam. So that's kind of hard actually, when I find then that week, when I haven't had much of a break, even though they're good things, I love teaching knitting and watching the game, and then writing an exam, they're all good things, but when I haven't just had downtime on the weekend, I can get a bit so this week I felt a bit like playing catch up this week. So hence this episode is not as, I don't feel as prepared as I normally am. I usually like to have all my show notes really well written out and have. You're probably laughing because I'm always reaching for yarn across the side of the room. I always think I'm prepared, but I'm usually better prepared than this. Anyway, so it's been a really busy week, giving exams back to students and finishing teaching content ready for the trials. But yeah, it's good. What else is coming up? Oh, this weekend. So this week's been a bit busy also because Zach's been doing work experience at the church that we go to, and so I've got to pick him up from there this afternoon. But he's been enjoying that, and still driving Alex around because we haven't got a replacement car yet, although that's in the planning. We're picking between some kind of MG something or another. You can see I'm the one making the decisions here. Not at all. My husband did a test drive yesterday, and Zach went with him, and some kind of Hyundai. I think the names aren't always the same. I don't know. If you're into cars, you're probably laughing at me, and if you're not into cars, you don't care. So I'll just move on with that. We don't have a car yet, so there's lots of running around still for the kids or for Alex. And what else? This coming up this weekend, I think a little bit less on. I am doing this thing with my mum, Share the Harvest, where it's our church is collecting food for like cans and packaged foods, non-perishable foods for refugees, and I'm doing that with my mum from 11 to 12. So that's a nice thing for us to do together. And then I did church online last Sunday because I was just so flat out with writing that exam. So I'm hoping to go in person this Sunday. And I haven't even really thought too much of what's coming up besides that. Yeah. So hopefully a little bit more knitting, and yeah, nothing else too much happening. I think I'm just going to sign off now because you're probably yeah, but I'll hopefully finish this, but I won't do any more in the next few days. So let me know, what do you reckon? A few more rows, another inch maybe, like, because I can't really, like if I tried to tuck it in and blouse it, it's pulls straight out. So maybe I need another inch. I'm really happy to hear what you think. I'll put in the down bar as well what how long it is. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter how long it is. Like you can see how it's actually fitting, and the back is pretty similar. Yeah. So I couldn't really blouse it without it coming out, or not much anyway. Right, okay, I better go pick up my son. Hope everyone has a great week, and yeah, hopefully I'll return next week with a more calm and relaxed vibe. And yep, happy knitting. See you soon.